2023. Could you please tell me your name?
My name is... Oh, do I look at you or do I look at the camera?
The camera is fine.
All right, cool. My name is Juan Benn Junior. Yep.
And do I have permission to record this interview?
Yes.
In your experience, how has the community changed over time?
So that's an interesting question that I might not be the best person to ask that. I'm not from DC. I'm not from this area. I've only lived in this neighborhood for a little over a year. But in that year, I have seen changes. I've seen new development. I see people moving in and out all the time. I'm a walker. I love to go on walks. So I'm, all up and down these streets over here. And I do see a lot of people moving, a lot of development, a lot of new buildings and what's the word called? Not reconstruction, renovations of homes being renovated and turned out to be whatever. Yeah, I've definitely seen that. And within the past year, the building right next to my apartment building. So I stay on New Hampshire, which is just down the street. And when I moved in, it was, it was kind of abandoned, just like this old church that, the owners just kind of let go. And since then, just recently, I think the people that own my building, they bought it and now they're about to turn it into condos. So that's just one change that I've seen for sure.
Do you think that there's been anything lost as a result of these changes?
Yes. So, like I said, I'm a journalist, and so I've been doing a lot of reporting today, just talking to people, just asking them, what today, being Celebrate Petworth Day, how important this event is, not only to local businesses, but to the community. And a lot of different people that I've talked to have talked about exactly what you had just said, how this area might be diverse, the neighborhood might be diverse, but it's losing its diversity at the same time because of gentrification. And when we see not only the makeup of the people of a community change, that's also reflected in the businesses that are in that community, and also to the stories that are going to be shared in that community. I think that's why it's really important what y'all are doing. It's very important because, one thing that I've heard repeatedly from Black residents, not only in this neighborhood, but in other neighborhoods in DC, is that once someone leaves and once someone is pushed out, it's very hard to come back. And at the same time, when people aren't here, they're not here to talk about their experiences and talk about their stories. So I think stories are lost when, people are pushed out and when neighborhoods are changed. I think that the businesses and the services that were once offered to those people are also lost when neighborhoods change. Yeah.
And do you think there's been anything gained as a result of the changes?
So I don't know if I can necessarily speak to what's gained, because I don't know if I, have enough experience being here to see what was before and what it is now. What I can see, I guess, just from my experiences is the results, right? And is the changed neighborhood and what's, happening now. And, I've talked to people and they said, DC used to be a place where, once the streetlights came out, don't walk around. That there were some places that you just don't walk around. And while that may be, the case in some areas still, because things have changed, maybe it is a little safer to walk around, and there are some hipster kind of businesses and different kinds of places that I do like, around here. But I don't know if I can speak too much about what's gained.
Has there been anywhere in the area that makes you feel part of the community?
I love events like this. Events like this make me feel because I do live in Petworth. I'm a resident of this community and I really love Petworth. I think that there's so many trees over here and, it's very residential. And when I walk around, I try to wave. I always wave at people, who are sitting out on the porch or whatever, and people wave back. They'll tell you good morning. And that's one thing that I'm from the South, and that's very real. When you walk by somebody, you say hello. That's just how it is. When I came up here to DC, it was the biggest culture shock to me was that people just don't talk to each other. And when, people are responsive and when people are friendly, that makes me feel like a part of this community. And also to individual businesses and individual people here, like Michelle from Cookieware right across the street. Like, she wants people to come in and wants her business to be a place of community. And, she's very, very nice. And so many of the people I've talked to, we exchange numbers and they're very friendly. We're talking about this and that and that. And you can build community with other people, which makes me feel a part of this place.
Do you have a favorite memory from your time here in Petworth so far?
A favorite memory. I don't know if it's my favorite, but a fond memory I have was Open Streets DC. That was just a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago. And, they closed down Georgia Avenue. And on that day, I interviewed Michelle from Cookieware for this story I was working on. And then after, I walked around the businesses, and I kind of, didn't really get a chance to enjoy all the businesses that were closing up as I was walking around. But I walked all the way up Georgia Ave from here to like Walmart. And then I biked all the way down Georgia Ave to SOB, School of Business at Howard University, right in Georgia. And it was a beautiful day, and the sun was like coming down and setting. It felt like such a movie moment, and I was like, wow, I really love this place and love being here. And I'm just really happy, that I got out of Tennessee, and I came up here for school, and I get to enjoy this community in this place.
In 5 years from now, what would you envision for Petworth?
Ooh. Oh my gosh! In 5 years from now, I can only imagine how different this community will look. Because that's the thing about like gentrification and like development and stuff like that, is that a place can change and look so different in the span of 1 to 2 years, like so quickly. And for as an example, like on Georgia Avenue, right next to the School of Business on Howard's campus, was a apartment building that Howard owned, and then right next to it was another apartment building. And both of them were, just, I don't want to say desolate, but they're kind of run down. They weren't doing anything with it. And then Howard sold those properties to some developer, and they knocked one of them down, rebuilt another one, and now it's at the point to where, just 2 years ago, like that block looked so different. But now, like, it's a completely different block, and you walk down and it just looks just different. It's new buildings and everything. And so in 5 years, I can imagine the same for Petworth. We'll see probably a lot more of just, those modern looking houses to replace the row houses and historic homes that are in this neighborhood. You probably see less diversity in the people that live here. And I really hope that doesn't affect the small local businesses, and in particular, a couple Black-owned businesses on this street. Because as I said before, like when the diversity and the makeup of a neighborhood changes, it has a direct effect on the businesses that are in that neighborhood. And so I really hope that we don't lose some of these places in here in 5 years.
And is there anything that you would like to add about the neighborhood that I haven't addressed?
I don't know. I think like the thing that surprises me about this neighborhood is like how surprising it was to me. Before I lived off campus in DC, I never really, I'll say this. Before I came to like live in DC for school and moved here for school, I didn't know DC was once called the Chocolate City. I had no idea that it was once a majority Black city, and I had no idea that it had communities like this, residential communities, neighborhoods outside of the Smithsonian and like the National Mall and like all those, historic and like the monuments and stuff and the government. Before coming here, I just really thought of DC as the nation's capital, and that's where the president lived, that's where the White House is. But if you just go like 5 blocks east of any of those places down there, you're gonna really see what DC is. I was talking to somebody today, and they said, this is DC, the monuments, the White House, that's Washington. And I think one thing that, you know, maybe I urge you to consider and just to think about is like, this is DC, and like the people that live in these neighborhoods that are at events like this, like that's who make up what this place is. People that work in, you know, that work for the government, that work for all these federal jobs, like they have a place to go back to, and it's probably in one of these neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, just that like these people make up DC and make up who it is, and like this is the real DC. And so that's why I just love what y'all are doing, and I'm happy to support and like share my, you know, perspectives as a transplant and someone that came here. It's not a native, but I really love this place and love this community for sure.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and do this interview.
Of course, of course. Yeah.